everyone. I've got Shea Morrison on the show today. This is I'll meet you in the lobby lockdown, not in the lobby, unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 time that we're going through at the moment. But we've got Shea Morrison. She's a sleep specialist and co-founder of the Goodnight Co. And we're going to speak to Shea today not only about the Goodnight Co, but we're also going to speak to her about sleeping during this stressful time. How are you, Shea?
I'm really well, Jacinta. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to join you today because obviously we are in such a different time to our normal lives, and definitely over here at the Goodnight Co we've been getting lots of requests and questions about how people can sleep better with the stress and anxiety that's going on at the moment.
Exactly. So first of all, we'll speak about that. And what I want to know is can you talk us through like the trends you were seeing presently with people's sleep patterns, because people are going through a lot of anxiety at the moment, obviously losing their jobs and their businesses. And what can you suggest there?
Yeah, I think that definitely one of the trends that we're seeing at the moment around sleep is linked to stress and anxiety. A lot of the time, stress and anxiety is one of the major causes of people suffering with sleeping issues. So that's of no surprise. And I think that what tends to happen when you are feeling a bit more stressed and anxious, you find it harder to fall asleep. And then often you might wake in the middle of the night with a racing mind and find it difficult to go back to sleep. So they're definitely the two areas that people are struggling with at the moment.
And does that differ between men and women, or is it the same for everybody? Do you think it's sort of like
Look,
we're going through the same thing?
Yeah, there's no hard and fast research exactly on the difference for men and women when it comes to stress and anxiety and sleep. Definitely men and women have different sleeping patterns because of our hormones. But I think that, right now with particular COVID-19 and what's happening in the world, that it's really just the feeling of our cortisol levels being increased and causing that stress and racing mind.
Yeah, so stress, does stress cause insomnia, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny, stress and insomnia can be interlinked, and it's the sort of the chicken and egg scenario a little bit. Does stress cause insomnia? Does insomnia cause stress? Certainly it's very much, as with most things, an individual response. If you're not getting enough sleep and you're not feeling well rested, you're not getting your 6 to 8 hours. And if it's not good quality sleep, so the quality of your sleep is actually really important as well, just to make sure that we're cycling through the different stages throughout the night. And certainly, getting a good night's sleep really helps with lowering our cortisol, our fight and flight response. So it's a chicken and egg scenario. So if we were getting better sleep, would we feel less stressed and anxious? If we were less stressed and anxious, would we get better sleep? And I think that there's probably a combination of both.
So at the moment, we know like the norm has changed significantly with the past couple of weeks, and people are working from home and going out less, which is driving me bananas. What could you suggest? Can you suggest how we can get back into a good routine? Because some people are routined and can stick to it. I mean, for me, I work from home a lot, so I've got that normal routine. But I know there are people out there really struggling with it.
Yeah, look, I think that now is such a great time to really address routine. So one of the key messages at the Goodnight Co that we try and encourage people with is to look at setting a really good, consistent nighttime routine and also a morning routine. So your morning routine can be just as important as your nighttime routine. And setting the day up, we've got such a good amount of space and time now. So all of that commute time that a lot of people had, or, for me, I used to drop my children off to school and pick them up as well on the way into work. So, I've got a lot more time back on my hands. So being able to have some time and space to create a new routine if you and if you don't have one. Starting now is a great time to be doing that. So we can't stress enough having a consistency is the key. So in the mornings, it might be that when you're waking up, just to take a minute before you jump on your phones and devices, just take a minute just to sit and think and take a couple of deep breaths and think about what your day is going to look like and how you can impact your day and have a great day today. Writing a list of 2 or 3 things that you might be grateful for. It really helps to shift your mindset. Getting sunlight, so fresh air and some sunlight is the best thing you can do to really help set your circadian rhythm for the day. Doing these things, I definitely recommend being hydrated. So hydration is so important. So I love lemon in hot water in the mornings or warm water, and starting your day off with those things rather than reaching straight away for the caffeine hit can really help set up your day to feel less stressed and anxious and feel like you're in control of your day. And then as you move through your day, thinking about things that you could be doing to create some mindfulness. So again, just if you're working from home and you've got the opportunity to, just stepping outside for 5 minutes, getting some fresh air, getting that sunlight, getting into nature can really help reduce our cortisol levels. And then as we move into the evening routine, one of my favourite things to consider is really thinking about light. So light has such a big impact on the release of melatonin. And if we're not in a dark-ish environment, then that can be really damaging for us in the preparation and lead up to sleep. So dimming the lights is a great technique after dinner.
Okay, that's great. So also, how many hours of sleep should we have a night, do you think?
Look, all the research points to 6 to 8 hours is really what we need to be getting. I know that, if you read any of the documentaries that Netflix has out in the market, it's all around sleep is actually their biggest competitor. So it's not Stan and it's not any other, Foxtel or anything. It's actually sleep, because they want us binge watching their programs and their shows. And I think that that's definitely having an impact for people. But 6 to 8 hours is what we need to be getting, because we need that time for our body to recover.
Absolutely. Also, I would like to talk more about your brand also, the Goodnight Co. How did it all come about for you?
So I'm a co-founder with Danielle, who's also one of my old school friends. And we started the brand over 5 years ago when we had just had our youngest children, and looking for an opportunity. Both of us, while we had good sleep, it's certainly an area for me that I was always really interested in, health and science.
Yeah.
And so when you have children and babies, obviously your sleep routines can be thrown out of whack. And so it was really about how are we going to get the right balance and get really good sleep to be able to maintain what we're trying to do. So that was, first of all, we started with some silk products, which were probably a little bit more on the, what we say, fluffy side of things, around, not hugely scientific, and then really quickly moved into researching areas with science-based formulas, which then led us down the path of supplements and aromatherapy, essential oil diffusers and things like that.
And how did you identify a niche in the market at the time? What was the unique selling points of your product?
So it's an interesting one. we're actually really lucky to join Arianna Huffington. So she had just written in 2015, she had launched a new book, The Sleep Revolution. So she was on this big journey around identifying the fact that in the corporate world, it's not all about coming out and living on 4 hours of sleep a night. It's very detrimental to our health and well-being. So she had launched a book, The Sleep Revolution, which we partnered with her on throughout the United States. And then we were one of 2 Australian brands with Kiki K that participated in a pop-up in Soho for 6 weeks. over Christmas.
Okay.
And so that was sort of where our turning point around when we really started identifying that sleep was becoming such a big issue for the world.
What's your top selling product at the Goodnight Co? I believe you've got deep sleep drops and they're pretty unique. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, so our deep sleep drops are a homeopathic-based formula. I've been using homeopathy for probably about the last 15 years and get really good, I see very good benefits in it. So we formulated some deep sleep drops, and it is by far our number one selling product. And we just get so many people that have really severe sleeping issues that send us in reviews to say that, they're now getting a full 6 to 8 hours sleep a night. They've never felt better. They can stop taking prescription medication. So, yeah, it's been really successful.
How do you stop people imitating the product?
Look, I just think that if people want to imitate, there's not a lot you can do. We certainly have claimed that space early on in the market. And, I think that our formula is our formula. I'm sure that people can imitate, but good luck to them.
Fair enough. And the Goodnight Co is a digitally native brand, and it continues to be your primary sales channel. What are your thoughts on channel diversification? Sorry.
Look, I think that we've had really great success in the digital space, and it's certainly an area that we want to continue and grow in. As we develop as a brand, I'm sure that there will be other opportunities that will be presented to us, and we're always open to looking at whatever is put forward that people can recommend that are going to get us a great result.
Okay. Also, what's just another few questions before we wind up, but what would be one thing that you could suggest we could sort of change our, sorry, let me just start again, Shea. What would be one small thing we could change tonight to make a difference to our sleep?
Look, I think that the one thing that you can consider is what we spoke about earlier, and that is if you don't have a routine, start one. And if you do have a routine and you're not happy with it, then make some changes, and really identifying and writing down and committing to what your morning and your nighttime routine are going to look like will just put you ahead of everything else.
And do you agree with naps throughout the day? Because some people can't even nap. I'm not a napper, I can't nap, but I know so many people that do have, a nano nap in the afternoon. Does that affect your sleep throughout the night?
There's a lot of science around the pros and the cons to say that it does and it doesn't work. I'm a firm believer that sleep is a very personal thing. It is so personalised that we can't interpret what is good for one is good for all. If you look at the lots of different cultures in our community, siestas play a big role in that. I am a napper. I'm somebody who can have a 20-minute nap and feel amazing. So I think that if you're somebody who is really missing out on sleep and you find that napping works for you, then go ahead and do it.
Fair enough. That sounds good. And I suppose also another thing that I'd thought of was sometimes partners, like your partner will go to bed at a different time than you. How do you sort of get over that side of things too? Because that can be, for me, sometimes I could be asleep at, 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then, they wander in at about midnight or something, and it can be quite disturbing to your sleep. I can get a couple of hours sleep and then I'm wide awake once, you've woken up sort of around that midnight, especially midnight to 1 o'clock. I think that can be quite hard. It must be hard for people who have got a partner that does night shift or, shift work. What do you suggest there?
I'm going to be really controversial here and say the best thing you could do is to sleep in different bedrooms. And, I know that sounds really extreme, but if you really value your sleep, and if it's a consistent thing, then I would consider separate bedrooms. But if that's not possible and that's not something you want to do, then it's really sitting down and talking to the person who is coming to bed later and explaining to them that it really does interrupt your sleep, and that come up with some strategies like not turning a light on, only using a torch or, a dim light that you can find, because the minute that you turn that light on, that's just totally interfering with your melatonin levels. So it is going to have an impact. So staying really dim, perhaps the person who's in bed already can use a sleep mask of some description. And, having the conversation, I think, is just the important thing about how that impacts your sleep, because it's not impacting them.
Exactly right. Just one last thing, Shea. What's your thoughts on depression? There'd be a lot of people that are possibly experiencing depression at the moment, with the loss of jobs, and also just the anxiety about when is this all going to get back to normal again. With our current landscape, it's a really difficult one. How does depression sometimes would that impact on your sleep? Because there'd be a lot of people out there, no doubt, feeling quite depressed at the moment.
Definitely. I think depression definitely has a big role in that. I think that if you are feeling any signs of depression, that it's really important that you speak to your health practitioner. So whether that's your doctor or a naturopath or somebody that you are in regular contact with, and talk to them about some strategies. Certainly some of the things that we've covered off around stress and anxiety apply. So really looking at coping mechanisms throughout your day that you can look at reducing the feelings that you have around being stressed or anxious. So understanding what the triggers are, identifying them, and then working out some coping strategies, whether that be breathing or some meditation or some mindfulness, to help lower your cortisol levels so that you can feel calm again and feel in control of your emotions. It might even be, if you're not happy to go and speak to somebody about it, trying to talk to a loved one, a friend, or a family member, or someone that you can share that burden or overload with to help try and get through it. But it can definitely play a role in our ability to fall asleep, or that, as we said earlier, about waking up in the middle of the night and having that racing mind, which is linked to depression and anxiety. So identifying it and trying to find some ways to cope with it are really important.
That's great advice. One last thing I was going to ask, your products, where can our listeners find them online? Is that right?
Yes, we're online at thegoodnightco.com.au, and you can also check us out on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for your time, Shea. Really appreciate it. There's some really good advice there, and we look forward to hopefully speaking to you again soon.
Lovely. Thanks, Jacinta.
Stay safe.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.